Welcome to the Pro Church Marketing Podcast. I am Jono, and I have Melissa here with me today. She is our Google Ad Grant guru, and this is week 2 of our 3-week series on the 2025 guide to the Google Ad Grant for churches, which that is a mouthful. How are you, Melissa?
Doing better than you this morning.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I am on the struggle bus here. So our goal here is to just update everybody on some things that have changed about the Google Ad Grant, some things that you just need to pay attention to, some things maybe you've forgotten, some things that'll help you make your ads better, yada, yada, yada. And just a quick reminder, if you don't have the grant, if this is the first podcast you're ever listening to about the Google Ad Grant and you're listening just because you're interested in maybe getting it, or you heard that churches can get $10,000, whatever, you need to go back several episodes to the 2024 guide to the Google Ad Grant, because that's where we talk about how to get the grant, how to just get started with it. This is more like level 201 stuff. So this is not basic stuff. So if you got the grant and you're struggling to make it work, this is perfect for you, especially this week, because we're going to get into your website and content and really what Google's looking for outside of just writing an ad. But, you know, your ads connect to a website, and the website just needs to be good. Right, Melissa?
Yeah. You know, I think it's something that people don't think about enough, maybe. And landing pages and your website, it's very important to the Google Grant. And I think we want to bring awareness to that because it can kind of have a make it or break it effect, truly. So I can dive right in, if you have things.
Well, no, I mean, it seems like when people are struggling, I mean, one of the biggest frustrations with the Google Ad Grant is how to get it to spend money. A lot of the churches that we work with came to us already having the grant, and they had tried it themselves and realized that the Google Ad Grant, not to be discouraging, but it's really not that much of a DIY thing. Google ads are just not easy to manage. And so it's going to take you some time to figure the thing out, and you're going to have to listen to podcasts like this, watch YouTube videos, and put a lot of time into it. So a lot of churches come to us frustrated because they've had the grant and it's spending like $12 a month, and they feel like they're wasting it. And the tendency, what they've tried to fix, is usually like trying to write anything, trying to maybe spice up the ads a little bit, use better words or something. And the truth is the ads probably aren't your problem as to why you're not able to spend the money or getting any clicks. It seems like it's way more likely that there's a problem with the web page, the landing page that your ads are linked to. Am I right? Would you agree?
Yeah. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think probably maybe your ads do need to be spiced up, but you can't spice up something that you don't have anything to send an ad to. So kind of what that means is if you have a website that doesn't have very much content on it, or it is goes to Planning Center, which is like a third-party site, then you can create an ad, but there's no content. And the thing about Google, and honestly, I think it makes sense. Sometimes we get frustrated with Google because they kind of make the Google Grant challenging, and there's a lot of little nuances and things that you have to stay in compliance with. But if you really think about it, it is kind of fair in that they're giving you a good amount of money for advertising for free. So of course, they want to make sure that what they're giving you and what you're advertising is relevant. I mean, everything, you'll hear that if you watch any videos about the Google Grant or Google Ad. I mean, they want it to be relevant. They want your content to match your ads. So if you're writing an ad about something that you don't actually have on your site, you've made it really, as Jono said, spicy, and you've made it really pretty or whatever, but there's nothing about that when they click on the actual ad that takes you to the site, then that's not going to work. And Google's not going to be happy with that, and they're not going to show your ads.
Yeah. And so where all this came from, if you go back and read, you'll see stories back when the ad grant program first came out and nonprofits were starting to use it. You had a lot of, because people couldn't figure out how to make it spin. So you would have, like, for example, a clothes closet or something. They're doing a clothes drive, and they're for the community, and they're not getting many clicks. So they would just start creating ads about like puppy rescues and they would write ads to try to get people. So people are searching for like, I want to rescue a puppy. And they would see their ads like rescue a puppy. And then you click on it and it would go to a clothes closet page. And they were just like, I mean, pretty much lying to get traffic to their website by any means necessary. And so Google figures that out. And so now that's why they're super, if the ad talks about your church's Easter egg hunt, then you can't just link that ad to your homepage. You need a page on your website that's all about the Easter egg hunt. And like Melissa was saying, I mean, you've got to have content. And when we say content, we're talking about words. Right. Google has to read words on your website in order to know what your church is about, what this page is about. Remember, Google pays attention to pages, not entire websites. And so this one page on your website may be like number 1 for a certain search, but your homepage may be number 17 for a certain search. So every page is kind of its own thing. Mm-hmm. And every ad links to an individual page, and multiple ads can link to the same page and stuff. What churches are notorious for, and I don't mean this like to be critical, but you got to strike a balance. Because every website we build at Faithworks, when I ask, hey, what do you want your website, as far as a look and feel, the answer is always clean, not crowded, not a lot of words. That's what every church wants. And so if you go look at a church website, you'll see a ton of pictures, tons of videos. They look good. And there'll be like 2 sentences in the mission statement on every page. And that's cool to get a feel for. I mean, that's cool for guests who are just skimming. But if you want your Google ads to work, there's got to be content on the website. And yes, every page can't link out to Planning Center because you can't point ads to a Planning Center link. It has to go to your website. So you really, if you think about it, like if you were paying for these ads out of pocket, your website could stink a little bit more. And because Google's going to spend your money, they're going to get you some clicks because you're paying them. Your website needs to be good if you want the ads to get good leads. But for the most part,
right,
your website could be kind of junky and you get away with it, but not the case when Google is paying for these ads. And you almost have to look at it. I think running the Google ad grant is a lot closer to search engine optimization than it is almost running a paid ad account, because you really have to spend a lot of time optimizing the website, getting content on the website and all that stuff. So that's what we're going to talk. That's what we're going to talk about. So landing page requirements. And when I say landing page, I'm talking about a specific web page on your website that the ads are pointing to or are linked to. So what are the things, Melissa, that Google really wants to see on a good landing page? What would that look like? What's it include?
So one of the things that I feel like is really kind of top of their list is especially for, the Google grant, which is nonprofits, they want it to be very clear. I mean, so transparent. It's like a mission focused design. They want to know, what is your mission? They don't want to have anybody guessing. I mean, it's got to be like laid out there. They want clear call to actions, clear navigation. It's got to make sure, again, it comes back to having good content that makes sense. What each page isn't kind of just jumbled here and there. It has like this page, if it's your homepage, even fine. And you're talking about a few different things, that's okay, but make sure it's clear and make sure that it flows together and that when somebody clicks on it, they're not confused. Because the thing is Google is it's a bot, it's AI powered. This is not necessarily a person from Google going through each, it's just not the way it is. So they have things that they search for and things that they'll flag. So that's what we're saying. Like, make sure that it's clear, like what your mission is. I mean, I can't say that more, but it is we're really finding, and that's it. And that leads into when you write an ad, you have to have very clear call to actions on your ads. I mean, they score your ads. When you write them, you'll see it'll go from poor to excellent. And you could do a poor ad, but it's probably not going to get shown, and not very often, and it will hurt you. And what that means is your ad is not, if you're using only content from your website and it's poor, then probably you need to update your website a little. You need to update your landing page because there's not enough relevant keywords on there. There's not enough calls to action. There's not enough clear definition that Google thinks that people will click on your ads.
Yeah. So one of the things you'll see on like churches' websites, and again, I'm not knocking this. Well, I kind of am. But like a church homepage. You may be, if you send ads to the church homepage, but like I see this all the time, the biggest, what's called the H1 header, the heading one, which is what Google pays a lot of attention to understand what your website is about, what you do, who you are. It'll be something like welcome home, which for all Google knows, this could be a real estate agent's website. In fact, that sounds way more like a real estate, or it'll be like, you belong here. So it sounds like a club or something, whatever. So like, you've got to be specific about your mission and talk about what you do, how you help the community. And it's fine to talk about being a church. I think everybody's scared, like, that Google punishes churches or something, that they don't like churches and stuff. And that we just haven't, that's not the case. We got tons of churches use these ads very effectively. And, don't think Google penalizes anybody for being a church. So don't, just put it out there and quit being vague.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think that's
what about, what else? We talked about anything more about like the navigation. We talked about Planning Center. A lot of times every link is out to Planning Center.
Yeah, which is really just, you can't have that, obviously, if that's what you choose, but then you just have to know for the grant that you're just probably not going to spend very much, because in order to run an ad for the Google grant, it needs to be to your website. And so you can only then run most of the ads to your homepage or, things. And then make sure that the pages that you do have that are not Planning Center, make sure that they are packed full of good content. I think that's the thing. John already said it, but the thing is I think a lot of these churches want to keep things very, clean, which is fine, or they'll have a lot of graphics with words on them, but that doesn't actually count as content. And so you just got to make sure that whatever content you're writing is not just all fluff either. It has to have, like, I feel like we see one or the other. We see like barely anything or just all this fluff that isn't really, like, you read it and then you're kind of like, well, I'm confused. Like, do you want me to come to church? Do you want me to watch online? Do it like, so if you want people to watch online, make a whole thing about here, watch online, but then also have something very clear of you meet in person at this time, at this place. It seems kind of like, oh, well, yeah. But I think sometimes we don't realize the way that things are written on our site maybe aren't as clear. And that's what John was saying with like navigation. Like, you got to have clear navigation, even just where people are going. Is it clear? Do they know what button to click? Do you have a clear button? Are there buttons on your site that are like plan a visit? Is it clear? Is it insight? Like, so yeah. I mean, and I know this can feel overwhelming. I mean, I think for people that, like me, even, I love the Google grant, but like doing websites and all of that, I'm like, oh, and so I don't think you need to feel overwhelmed. I think this is something that easily can just enhance your church and people's experience.
And that really that's the goal. Honestly, it's the way you should think about your website, regardless of the grant, is thinking like somebody who hasn't been going to your church for 10 years. And if you can, you should be doing that anyway, looking at your website like someone who doesn't know that the youth room is called the Hangar, or whatever, cheesy name we're giving it. Somebody who doesn't speak all the lingo, your church vocabulary. And so put yourself in their position. And pretty much if you'll do that and think like an outsider and design your website and say things on the website that speak well to that person, because Google is that person. Google is new to your church and they're trying to figure out what you're about. So just do that. And all those words, if you're super concerned about all of those words being cluttered up, you don't have to put them up at the top. Sprinkle them out. It doesn't have to be one huge novel. And it doesn't have to be at the top. You can put it at the bottom, or spread it out, do different, blurbs here and there, but you need some words. Melissa, any opinion on how Google might feel about those aerial drone footage videos of your churches at the very top of the website homepage? Probably not. Does Google hate them and find them as irrelevant and as I do?
I can't say for sure, but I'm
so just a little soapbox here. And it kind of has something to do with the grant, kind of doesn't. And hesitate to be like this because I know a lot of us church marketing guys came from church staff, and now we all sound bitter. Like, oh my gosh, churches are so dumb. Why? There used to be like, there was even like a church marketing sucks. That was like a it was a website. It may still exist. I don't know. And so I always felt like I was being talked down to by church marketing guys. They were always like, just telling me how dumb I was. And so I wouldn't listen to them. So I don't mean to come across that way, even though I probably am about to. But at the top of your homepage, that's called the hero image because it's the first thing everybody sees. And you can answer a lot of questions about your church with a really good picture of people smiling in the foyer or walking into the church or something like that. I don't like videos because they slow the website down, and Google likes a fast website. Mm-hmm. I don't like the drone videos because it doesn't show what it's like to walk into your church. And that's what people care about. Unless somebody flies a helicopter to your church, that drone footage is giving no one a sense for what it feels like to walk into an environment they don't know. So if I get a picture of people, your actual people, not stock photography, then, what do I wear gets answered because you can see the people's clothes. Are there people like me there? So if I'm old, I can see some old people. If there's young families, I can see young families in that picture. Is there diversity? Are there people who look like me there? I can answer that question. And so lots of stuff can be answered with a good photo. So I would get away from the videos but I would definitely get away from the drone videos. I don't know that a drone video is going to tank your grant. But
having pictures also, the grant has just started on one campaign to be able to use videos. Pictures, we can use a lot more pictures, and I do think it makes a difference. So yeah, I think, is it going to tank your grant? No, probably not. But is it better for all the other things that we've talked about? Yes. Now again, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. But
so I think there was one other thing we mentioned, like just looking good on a phone, working well on a phone, mobile responsiveness. By responsive, we mean your website needs to understand what size screen it's on and rearrange itself rather than shrink. Any website that's been built in the past 5 years definitely should be mobile responsive. If your website's like 12 years old, then you should go check it make sure it functions well on a phone. But that could hurt you too, right?
Yes, absolutely. The thing is all of these things do matter with the grant. If your website is slow, if what Jono's talking about with the mobile responsiveness is not there, or also glitches and all of that, they do take that into account, and they won't show your ads as much. They'll give you, poor quality scores and all of that. And not only that, even the grant aside, if your goal is to be getting new people to your church and to your website, if your website is slow or it glitches or they search it on the phone and it's not showing up, they're not going to try very hard. I mean, think of us as people. When we're searching for something, we want it then and now. And so you want your church to show up, and you want people to stay on your website to see who you are. And so it all kind of goes hand in hand. And I think it's very important.
Yeah. People are impatient. I'm impatient. If you're listening to this or watching this, you are impatient when it comes to websites. And like, if something doesn't load in a few seconds, you start thinking like, this website's broken. Well, what's wrong? Like, and you bounce to another website. It's called a bounce rate. Google tracks that. And so if people are coming to your website and then bouncing really quick, that's going to hurt you big time. So you need to pay attention to that.
And that is all data that Google, they keep that data, if you will, and they can see like, oh, people are bouncing, so we're not going to keep sending them to that site. I mean, that's kind of not just in the grant, it's part of other things. But as Jono said earlier, and something that we've really talked a lot about and probably always kind of realized it, but are realizing it more and more, of how much search engine optimization, or SEO, and the grant really do go hand in hand. And so, and this is basically what we're talking about. We're kind of really talking about, if you have good SEO, then probably your grant's going to really perform well. So I think you're kind of getting a 2-for-1. If you've really set up your website properly, and you can do keyword research, even just for your website, to then know, then it's going to work really well for your grant.
And I think, again, if you're listening to this and you've been in church world a long time, then this could be overwhelming. You might be thinking, oh, good grief, this forget the grant. This is too much. This is too much trouble. And if that's the case, I mean, that's why companies like Faithworks exist. If you're looking for help, there's, we manage really good, really some really good people. Reach the Lost. They're out in Colorado Springs. They're awesome at the grant. Really good people. So if you need some help, hit some of us up if this is overwhelming, because it does take a lot of time to manage this thing and make it work. But what was I going? Oh man, I had a really good thought, but I totally lost
Something
it.
about SEO, right?
Dang it. I'll come back to it. So, moving along. Oh, no. I know what I was going to say. Yeah, in church world, like for me, I came straight out of high school and went to be an intern, full-time intern at my church, and then started Bible college and became a full-time youth pastor. Before this, I never had a job outside of church staff. And so as far as, I never took any marketing classes, I never took any, so as far as ads were concerned, when you say ad to me, a flyer, I would think a newspaper ad, I would think a billboard, I would think a local magazine. And the thing that all of those have in common is a visual that gets created one time, and it's as basic as possible with a good 1 or 2 liner quip, and you put it in the newspaper, you put it on the billboard, and you just see what happens and hope it works. There is no optimizing. It's not linked to anything else. So if you come into the Google Ad Grant thinking, okay, I need to write a catchy headline, we're saving a seat for you, and then a couple, make sure I mention we meet at 9:00 here and here, come join us. We can't wait to see you. That is like 5% of making this work. Writing good ads is just that's the starting point. There's so much more to it. So you can't just stop and you can't think of this like a newspaper ad at all. Just go ahead and get that out of your mind.
Yeah. Well, and because you can't just, well, you can, but you shouldn't just set it and forget it. You can't just do one. It's even one of the things is they talk a lot about A/B testing, and it's something even that I do is you set up one campaign that has ad groups and ads, and then you set up another one that's similar to see which one performs better. Catchy phrases, because you do have to have catchy phrases. You do have to have things, but they, we're saying, they have to correlate with your website, with your call to action, with your mission. And so you have to be creative. And sometimes you have to do it more than once to see which one people like, and you have to follow the data. And so yeah, I mean, you can do it. You definitely can do it if you want to, but you got to have some research into it, and you got to know it. Otherwise, you're probably just going to not spend very much and not get any results that you want.
And you may be surprised when you start testing out those different versions. You may be surprised that the version you thought, this doesn't really sound all that good. Right. The one that you thought was going to be awesome doesn't do anything. And then the one that you were like, that one's junk, will end up doing well, because you just don't know what's going to grab people's attention. So you need to throw a lot of stuff out there.
Definitely.
And I think something else to consider, and that we run into a good bit, and I can appreciate this, but your church staff did a retreat, and you spent a whole weekend and a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of debating around language and mission statement, how we want to portray our church and how we want to communicate and the words we want to use and our brand and all of those things. And you've worked hard on it. And now you want every single Google ad to sound exactly like what you came up with around all of this language to communicate your brand. And you're going to have to let go of some of that when it comes to Google ads, because that word verbiage that it may work well in a conversation. It may look good on a wall in the church, and it may work really well on a mailer. It may not work very well in a Google ad that someone is skimming. And you may have to get way more basic with your verbiage than you're comfortable with, and go, honestly, like Alex Hormozy says, he puts all of his ads into this app called Hemingway, and it tells you what reading level that your ad is at, whether it's college reading, high school level. Then it'll go to 6th, 7th, or 7th, 6th, 5th grade. And so he says he always tries to get it below a 5th grade reading level. Every ad needs to be below a 5th grade reading. I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but I do play around with that with our ads sometimes, especially our Facebook ads. And so anyway, point being, get comfortable with getting outside of your style guide.
Well, and I think a way that you can kind of do both maybe is you want your brand and all of that on your website. And we get that, I mean, that is important. But what you can do is, and what you need to do is, if you're doing the grant yourself, then you're doing keyword research. You're doing keyword research for your ads to know, what it's going to show and what's not. So what you can do is do keyword research and make sure that some of those keywords that are showing up, that people are searching for, are in there with your brand as well. Make sure that there are just popular keywords. So you don't have to dumb everything down. But you have to make sure that you have relevant keywords that people are searching. Otherwise, you can have what you think is the most eloquent, wonderful, branded to you website that will never show to anyone because people aren't searching for that, if that makes sense. So there is a balance. You just have to make sure to add the good keywords in there as well, and do that research, and then write the content with that.
And real quick on like when you say research, people like me are like, ugh, no thanks. Like research sounds terrible. Like sounds like writing a paper. But it could be, when we're saying keyword research, I mean, you can get definitely fancy with it. There's lots of tools out there, tools you could pay for. We pay for some. Then Google has a free tool in your ad account called Keyword Planner, where you can click on that, go in there, throw in a keyword that you think works well. Google will tell you how many people are searching for that every month. But it'll also give you some suggestions, because the word that you think everybody's searching, a lot of times that's insider language, and because you've been in the church so long, or you've been in whatever industry it is. Real estate agents, when we work with real estate agents, they were bad about this. No offense, but like they would say, I want to rank number one for seller's agent on Google, and it's like, or for buyer's agent, whatever, and it's like no one outside of real estate agents uses that language. They're just like, real estate agent near me. So you need to simple, extremely simple. It'll take you a couple minutes. Just plug in the words that you're searching in Google, and the drop down in Google will start saying people also search for this, or they'll auto fill in some other phrases. And that's how you know what keywords are being searched. Just right there in your notes, Google will tell you. So don't be overwhelmed by the phrase keyword research. You're just trying to figure out what people are actually searching, because if it's something different than you think it is, then it's another way to get frustrated with ads. You're like, man, nobody's clicking on these. It's because no one's searching for your ads. So, okay. So let's talk about conversion optimization strategies. Okay. So the idea here is that we're trying to get people to come to the website, but if they click on the ad, that's the first battle. Now they're at your website, and we want them to do something. We don't want them to leave quick. We want to grab their attention. We want them to stay, and we want them to either watch a sermon video, or plan a visit to the church, or go read about the children's ministry or something. We want them to take some action. And so those actions that we're considering important, those would be conversions. Now, next week, we're going to talk about how to actually track those conversions so that you can see, hey, 73 people clicked this button and 14 people went to this page, and track that and make decisions. So we'll get into and that'll be super nerdy next week. This week, I'm going to talk about, like, on the page itself, what can you put on the page, and what can you do to make sure that people are engaged with the website? They don't just bounce real quick, but they'll actually spend, 45 seconds, a minute, half, 5 minutes on your website. Which, by the way, like, most people spend under a minute on websites. Like, if you get them to stay for 45 seconds, you're doing pretty good. So, like, don't beat yourself up. But what are some of those strategies, Melissa?
Okay. So kind of all the things that we've been saying, and I'm really not trying to, like, beat a dead horse, but if you don't have clear call to actions, or if you've written an ad about, as Jono said earlier, Easter egg hunt. Okay. And so somebody saw that and they're like, yeah, I want my kid to go to an Easter egg hunt at a church. And they click on your ad that takes them to a page that maybe right at the top says nothing about an Easter egg. Maybe you've written your Easter egg hunt at the very bottom and the last thing. And so they get there and like, well, this isn't what I'm looking for, and they're out. So a clear call to action, or very clear navigation, will be, this ad that they've clicked on is about an Easter egg hunt. That's what it is. So when they click on it, the first thing they need to do is see something about an Easter egg hunt. And then there needs to be very clearly, like, when it is, how do they sign up for it, and very easy and to the point. Like, if it's
cost anything, do I even have to sign up? Like, tell them what you want them to do, right?
Exactly. And this, I mean, you want it to be it's as simple as it can be for them. Because again, we're talking about us as people. We want what we want when we want it. And we don't want to have to jump through a lot of hoops for it. So it doesn't mean you can't have like cute pictures and it can't be like whatever, but it just needs to be an easy step for them. Otherwise you're going to lose them. And so that's for anything, whether you're trying to get somebody to sign up for a visit, when they click on that, is it a big button that they click on? Do they have to put in a trillion things? If they do, okay, is it easy for them to do it? Or can you simplify it a little bit to get them to want to do it and to stay on there? Is it a sermon video? Then it should be a very quick and easy in your face link of like, here's a sermon, watch it,
And if you go look at your website analytics for your church, I guarantee you, I will bet you 1 free month of Melissa working on your Google Ad Grant. Just kidding. That the second most visited page on your website is the pastor page or the staff page. And it's the staff page because they want to see the pastor. They're not like trying to see like, who's the administrative assistant? No offense, administrative assistant. But everybody wants to see, honestly, I think they want to see what the pastor looks like. I know that's shallow, but they're going to the staff page and I just want to see what this dude looks like. And I want to read his biography and make sure I don't think he might admit this, but I think they just want to go see that he's not a weirdo. Honestly.
That he is a weirdo.
Or if he is a weirdo, like, dude, I can't stare at him for 30 minutes every Sunday. No offense, Pastor. People probably came to our church website when I was on staff and like, yeah, no, no, that dude looks like a weirdo. We're not taking our teenager there. So,
okay. Right.
And his jokes are terrible. And so what I would say, so here would be an example. I think if they're already wanting to do that, just make that easier, like a big button somewhere, not even in the navigation, but either a blurb about the pastor already on the homepage, just make it easy. Or at a minimum, just a big button that says, meet our pastor, where it's somewhere near the top of the page and it's easy. And clicking that meet our pastor button takes you over to a page about the pastor. And hopefully you're not trying to create a celebrity pastor. Ideally, the picture of the pastor would be him and his family. I think that definitely helps cut off those weirdo vibes, especially if your pastor, and he can't help it, but like maybe your pastor's not the most photogenic guy. Put his wife and kids in there with it. So again, I'm not picking on you. I am picking on you pastors, but look, some of us are just weird looking dudes and like we need our attractive wives side by side so that everybody knows that you're not a weirdo. So any other things like to make the, make people do more on the page and engage with it more? Anything we missed?
Well, I mean, other than making things simple and you can, it is good to have reviews, testimonials, things that make you seem trusted, not like too flashy, like Jono was saying, but people want to know that you're a trusted church or, just like who you are. So have some people, have some families, have your youth, whatever you want to do. We're not going to tell you what you should do, but that's what we would suggest.
Yeah, like some testimonial videos. Get some people who love your church to just record a video. And it can be like selfie style with their cell phone. People are used to that. That's another thing that because a lot of churches do very well with video production. And so we think that we have to have the most polished professional videos ever. And honestly, definitely on social media, videos that perform better are like cell phone selfie style videos, not polished videos, because polished videos look like they look like performances and they look like ads. And so you get something real, somebody saying, oh my gosh, I love this church. You need to come check it out. I think that'll do well. And just to hammer home, keep things simple, which I know sounds like it goes against what we were saying earlier. Like you need words, but you also do just need to keep things simple. Tell people exactly what you want them to do. We do webinars every once in a while about the Google Ad Grant and SEO and stuff like that. And we were doing these big long landing pages with 47 things you're going to learn from this webinar and like 15 buttons to sign up and all that stuff. And we just weren't getting a lot of signups. And then we changed the landing page to a simple picture of me and a picture of Melissa. We made my picture smaller and then just a paragraph like, we're doing a webinar about the Google Ad Grant, sign up below. And like, it was just so simple. And we went from like 15 people signing up for these things to like 200 people signing up for these
crazy.
webinars. It was crazy how much of a difference that made. So yeah, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Anything. Okay, so that's what the website looks like, what we say on the page, what's written on the page, pictures and stuff like that. Anything like kind of under the hood, any technical stuff, any nerdy stuff that we should mention?
Well, so kind of the flip side of what we've been talking about is kind of what would lead you into like the technical issues, where if you don't have good landing pages, if somebody goes there and they don't know what to do now, or it takes a long time, then it's going to hurt you. It's going to give what's called like a low quality score, which Google cares about. And so, it could hurt your click-through rate, which is very important. You got to keep a certain 5% click-through rate, which it's just in general, it shows the quality of your ad. And because if somebody's clicking on your ad, but then not staying on there, or they like something, but then they don't get what they want, you're losing as well. So the point is, you want people to click on your ad and come to your church or sign up for something or whatever it may be. So if you do not have all those clear things that we just talked about for your website, for the landing pages, then you're just going to hurt yourself with the grant, and people aren't going to show up probably, or not. Maybe they are going to show up for something they thought was different, and just kind of it's just a downhill slope, honestly.
Here's another way you can hurt yourself on your ads. We have churches do this all the time, and it's Googling yourself to try to make your ads show up. When Google knows that you go to that church already, Google knows that you work at the church already, and Google's trying to show you stuff that to learn about. And so you're frustrated, like, man, I got these ads going and I just Googled myself, or I Googled church near me and I'm sitting in the church parking lot and my ads aren't showing up. Why? They may or may not show up. Sometimes they will. A lot of times they won't.
Yeah.
But if you're Googling your church, or you Google church near me, and you do see yourself, you do see your ads, and then you don't click on yourself, you've just told Google, like, all right, those weren't the results I was looking for. Show me something different. So you end up hurting yourself. So the best thing to do is not Google yourself. Like, go into the Google ad account. You want to see how these are performing.
Right.
Look at the impressions, how many people are seeing them. Look at the clicks, how many people are clicking, because you're getting clicks. Even if they're not showing up for you, somebody is seeing them and somebody's clicking on them. Look at the metrics. Not like we spend a lot of money every month on tools to measure all this stuff. And if all I had to do was Google and count and just see if you're showing up, I certainly wouldn't be spending all this money on tools. Right, Melissa?
Right.
Back me up on that.
It is something we're asked very often. And I get it. It's kind of a legit question, because you want to see your ad. But as Jono said, Google they're smart in the sense of they know that you're probably on the church's Wi-Fi, and they're like, well, why would I show you that church then? Because you're looking for, anyways, it's just, so yeah, if you want to see your ad, yeah, you can log in and it'll show you an example of the ads. They create different ones. So Googling yourself really is not the best practice, which is hard. And it sounds like a cop out. It does, but it's really not.
Yeah. Yeah. But yes, Google is smart, and they think about things that you're not thinking about. Like, we've seen this with churches and just like businesses. They know people are leaving them 5-star reviews, and then they go look for that review and it's not showing up. And then come to find out, those people were on the businesses or the church's Wi-Fi when they left the review. And guess what? Google doesn't like that, because they start thinking, well, that's kind of sketchy. If they were on the business's Wi-Fi or they were on the church's Wi-Fi, that place must have asked that person for a review. And guess what? It's against Google guidelines to solicit reviews, even though you're doing it and sending and breaking their rules. We're all still doing it, but it goes against guidelines. And so they're going to try to prevent that. So same thing goes for your ads. Like, don't stress out because they're not showing up for you.
Yeah. Look at the data. At the end of the day, look at what John is saying. They keep a track of all of that to see how many times it showed up, how many people clicked on it, how many, the spend of it. So that is definitely the better way to track it.
And they're showing you, if you go into the ad account, or next week we're going to talk about connecting analytics and stuff to Google Analytics to your ad account, and you'll be able to see like how you're acquiring people. How did they get there? Was this a Facebook ad, a Google ad? And then of the people who came from a Google ad, what were their ages? What were their genders? Things like that. Google will tell you a lot. Like, we got a lot of 35 to 40-year-old women clicking on our ads here. What are they looking for? What were the words that they were typing in to get here? And it's like they were looking for a ladies' Bible study, and we don't offer a ladies' Bible study. Maybe we should start a ladies' Bible study. Right. So, that you can figure out stuff like that. That's way more important than like the pastor searching for a church and then being ticked that he's not showing up. Even if you did show up, what'd that tell you? Like, okay, the ads are showing up, but we already knew that. Like, you think we're lying? Like, the ads are showing up. So,
yeah, totally.
All right. Anything else that we're forgetting from a content standpoint, website standpoint? I think that pretty much that gives everybody a lot to work on. Is there anything else?
I don't think so. I think I think I beat a dead horse, and I apologize.
Yeah, I think we covered it. But so we gave a lot. If you're like, all right, well, cool. You just told us 97 things to do. I got time for one of them. What would you say?
Well, if you really can only do one thing, I guess I would say make sure that your website is at least like up to speed and has, the mobile responsiveness that we're talking about, because I don't know how that's like only one thing. I think that if you can only do one, that is one, because everything else, I'm like, you need relevant content. You need this, you need that. Like, I don't know. That to me is the most important, but.
Yeah. If your website ain't working well, fix that. Yeah. If you got time for two things, go write some words and put on your website. Go expand the words. If you got like 2 sentences on your homepage, go write some words.
Yes. I guess that really would be number one. If you don't have a lot of content, then create some good content.
Yeah. Carve out 30 minutes a week. Shoot, 30 minutes a month, whatever. Just carve out a little bit of time, get in a rhythm, set it aside to work on this.
Yeah.
And just start checking these things off, and you'll get there. So it's only just do something. So don't stress out that you can't do all this right now, but just do something. Put some work into it. Make sure the website's working good, and make sure that you got some words on it so Google knows who you are, where your church is, what your church is about, what your church does, and they're going to reward that. We promise. Kind of, maybe. Eventually, I don't know how long it'll take them to reward you, but they will reward that. They do honor that. It's just they're slow.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, look, if you listen to all of this and you're like, again, you're like, no, I need some help. We ain't got time for this. Faithworksmarketing.com. We would love to help you with the grant, get the grant, manage it for you. Or if you want to try it yourself, just keep listening to this podcast. Like I said, next week, we're going to talk about how to tag those, track those conversions. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We hope this has been helpful. And if you got questions, definitely email us at hello@faithworksmarketing.com. And maybe we can answer those questions. Podcast, make sure you subscribe and all that other stuff. And check back, because we're always talking about how to grow your church using online marketing, because at the end of the day, we're trying to reach more people for Jesus. And that if we don't do that, then none of this really matters. So thanks for serving. Thanks for ministry. Thanks for what you do. And we're glad you listened or watched or whatever you did.